Hey guys, come on here, and this is a little unusual than what I usually do, and this is not live. Oh, well, it will be technically live when it goes in premiere mode, but this is topics on my mind for today, the 11th of July 2019. I am 2 weeks away from turning the big 4-0, so yeah, it's hard to believe, but that is happening. So I thought I'd come on here and give you a bit of my thoughts on certain topics that have dropped and been discussed over the past couple of days, couple of hours, weeks, if not for quite some time. So with that said, let's talk about the first topic that is on my mind, and that is the Nintendo Switch Lite. Okay, so news broke over the past 24 hours, and it's been rumored for the past couple months that Nintendo was going to release a mini version, a more kid-friendly, family-friendly, portable, handheld version of the Nintendo Switch. This, of course, is the original, not the red and blue, Joy-Cons, but just the regular black ones. But anyway, word came out that Nintendo was going to consider releasing and distributing sometime this year a mini Switch, more of a portable, handheld, hands-on kind of thing. Well, they made that announcement, and from what I've heard, the price range for it is subject to change probably, but the most likely retail price for the Nintendo Switch Lite is $199, round that out to about $200. Now the biggest difference about the Nintendo Switch Lite, or NSL, I think that's what they're going to call it, as I call it for short, the NSL, or the mini Switch, if you will. The biggest difference is the Joy-Cons, unlike here, do not come off. Like, with these, they come off. And the, reattachable. See? So the biggest, and I'm just showing you again what I mean. So the biggest difference, so that's probably one of the biggest differences, is the Joy-Cons are going to be attached to the system. It's going to be basically like, and my toe hit the tripod there, I do apologize. Adjust that again, kind of knocked it off its balance, there we go. But basically it's going to kind of be like this almost, in a sense, to where it's just everything is connected. But basically, it's still going to be a Switch. It's going to be smaller, slightly smaller than what this one is. But again, the joystick, the Joy-Cons are going to be attached to the sides. Now, I haven't read anything more about this, but I can assume that everything else will kind of be the same. Like, you're going to have your USB. You're going to have your USB cords, your HDMI cords, and your charger, of course, to go with the USB cord to charge this on the go. And again, I think they will probably provide an HDMI cord if you want to play it at home, especially if one television has the original Switch attached to it, but the other television you may have does not. So there you go. So I'm guessing that's what they're going to do. But again, they're rounding it out to a $200 price range. And the biggest question I think anybody has is, why are they doing this? And the obvious answer that a lot of people have been discussing over the past several months as to the possibility of this happening and being revealed, is it to attract. It's supposed to be an attraction to a younger audience, more like I would say the 10 and under demographic, maybe 11 and under demographic, but mostly 10 and under. That's supposed to be the attraction, the selling point, that the mini Switch is going to be more for the younger generation, because it's going to be a smaller version, like just a little bit smaller than this. Like the screen here, that's basically going to be the size of the Switch as a whole. Like the screen basically right here is going to be the size of the Switch, from what I can tell. So that's the biggest selling point. It's going to be more kid-friendly and hands-on for the younger generation, for the younger demographic. The other selling point, I think, that gets lost among this as well, and I don't think Nintendo has mentioned at all, but to me, and I think anybody else, it's very obvious that this is another reason, is there's a lot of people that don't like to take the Switches with them. They don't want to take the Switches on the road. They don't want to put them in the carrying cases or the protective sleeve cases, whatever. They don't want to do that. So the mini Switch, to me, is not just an attractive selling point to be something for the younger demographic. It's also an attracting selling point. And again, I'm surprised, I'm not sure, but I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't brought this up, or anybody else has brought this up. I'm sure some have, though, that it's basically it's also an attractive selling point, or alternative selling point for the already established Switch owners like myself. Like I have a Switch here, but the thing with me is I don't take it with me. I don't take it outside the house. I know some co-workers at my job that take theirs to work and put it in the lockers. I know that my nephew, my second older nephew, or third oldest nephew, who's gonna turn 12 this year, it's unbelievable. He takes it with him, especially when he comes and visits and stays for about a couple of days here during the summer. He brings his with him. So everybody brings. So there are people that do bring the Switch with them, because part of the selling point of it is it's supposed to be portable as well as a home console. It's supposed to be a hybrid. But mostly I have noticed, in my opinion, I have noticed that a lot of people don't really bring the Switches with them because of the fact that they don't want to risk the chance that these could get stolen. So they leave them at home, they keep them at home, and they just treat them like a home console. And I think that's the other reason Nintendo is bringing out this mini Switch, this Nintendo Switch Lite, if you will, this NSL, at the $200 price range, because not only is it cheaper, and like I said before, and I know it's bad, and I know I've said it already in the video, and everybody else has said it, that it's an attractive selling point for a younger demographic, the 10 and under, but it's also a great alternative, or a decent alternative, for the already established Switch owners to have a Switch that they can actually take with them. So in other words, you could leave this at home and still take your Switch games that you want to play on the road with you. Now I'm sure they're going to have a transfer cable where you can copy or transfer data in there or something like that down the line, so you can actually be able to, like, let's say you play Smash Ultimate on the go, or Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the go, or Super Mario Odyssey on the go. I'm sure they're going to have ways to transfer the data from one Switch to the other, or at least copy the data from one to the other, so that even when you play, you'll be able to play on. You won't lose your spot. You won't lose your area. Now, I understand sometimes the save feature goes right onto the game itself, so that's not to worry. So that's not a worry as well. But if you've downloaded the game digitally, then you obviously need to transfer a copy of that over to the mini Switch, to the Nintendo Switch Lite. But my honest opinion on it, though, is I think it's a good idea. I mean, I do agree that it's a great idea to be an alternative for the. I'll put it this way: I like the idea, I like the concept. I do think it's going to sell well, But it's not just gonna. But in my opinion, it's not gonna sell well because of the initial reasoning being the attractive advertisement of being targeted towards that younger demographic. But I think it's going to sell well because people, 200 is not too much, believe it or not, nowadays. They're going to want to shell that out to say, look, I don't want to risk losing my original Switch, so I'm going to buy this as something that I can actually take with me. So that to me is the real attractive selling point. Not just we're doing this for the younger demographic, but we're also doing this so that people can have an alternative. If already established Switch owners can have an alternative to take something on the road with them without losing or risking the other Switch, the original Switch they bought, from being stolen. So overall, though, I think it's a great idea. I think it's great, and I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea for them to create something for the younger generation or the younger demographics. But I also think, in all honest opinion, that a mini version of this is just so they can, well, to me, like I said, it's just so that they can, well, what I'm trying to say, and I'm doing this on the fly apparently, as you can tell, I think it's honestly just another way for them to acknowledge that not a lot of people, because I think they do some research, they do some studying, they do kind of visually see things when they're out and about. And they probably notice that there are people that may own a Switch, but they don't take it with them everywhere. They don't take it on the go. So I think, again, that's the other selling point about this, is the fact that it's not just, something to target towards that younger demographic of 10 and under, but it's also to target towards the already established Switch owners that don't want to risk taking the already bought Switch that they got, the original Switch, with them and having it possibly stolen. So they'd rather risk taking this mini version, which is a little bit more cheap, about $100 cheaper, $50 to $100 cheaper on the go, and risking that being gone instead of this. Because they know they can probably replace a mini Switch more than the original. So they can afford doing that, is what I should say. So that's just my take on Nintendo's announcement and unveiling of the mini Switch, the Nintendo Switch Lite, the NSL as I call it. I think it's a great move, and I think it's done for not just the obvious reason, as they're trying to point out, being targeted towards that younger demographic of 10 and under, but it's also being done to, give the already established Switch owners another alternative of the Switch to take on the road if they don't want to take the one they already bought when the system first came out. So that's all I'm going to say for this topic, though. And I'll be back with my second topic in a little bit. Alright, second topic I want to talk about is something that's kind of interesting. As you guys know, if you watch my channel here, or saw the videos, the two videos, my non-spoiler and spoiler review, I talked about Spider-Man Far From Home because I went and saw it for my oldest nephew's birthday. And to say that it's definitely a movie you have to go and see, and I recommend you see, especially if you're into the mid-credit and post-credit scene, if you will, in that kind of crowd. It's definitely worth going to see. But there's a report that went out, and some people are finding this kind of hard to believe. You see, there's a report that Sony wants to take. Well, obviously, it's probably a bit of it is true, but there's a report going around that Sony wants Spider-Man back. Well, more particularly, they have some kind of agreement with Marvel Studios / Disney, if you will. And that is, if Spider-Man Far From Home doesn't hit $1 billion, then they have the option, they have the right to say, okay, you've had your chance, now we're taking it back. And I look at it this way. there's one thing a few people have said. I think John Campy brought this up because somebody asked him this question. John Campa believes that it's not going to happen. That yes, there's no doubt that Sony, as reports have come out, they would like to have Spider-Man as a part of their universe, as a part of their film, so they can incorporate the likes of Venom and Morbius and Black Cat and Silver Sable and the likes, and Craven. You know, they want to incorporate all these characters to fight against or fight alongside Spider-Man. But right now, the deal that they have at Marvel Studios / Disney, kind of prevents that because Spider-Man is now deeply integrated into the MCU. I mean, if you watch the endings, the mid-credits ending and somewhat of the post-credits ending to Far From Home, then the mid-credit ending and somewhat the post-credit ending kind of tells you that Disney / Marvel Studios has a lot planned out for Spider-Man. They have a lot planned out for him in the future, and to risk Sony taking that away from them so they can incorporate Spider-Man into their own universe, onto their own films, into their own MCU, if you will, or their own take on it. For them to risk that would be tremendous. It would be a tremendous risk that wouldn't be able to pay off, and more importantly, it would confuse a lot of folks. It would confuse a lot of folks that, okay, why is Tom Holland, you know, playing or portraying Spider-Man / Peter Parker in a Venom movie or a Black Cat movie, but he's also in the MCU? You know, there's that risk of you're going to confuse your audience. Like they're not sure what's going on. So I don't think, honestly, that even if it doesn't make it to $1 billion, I think there's one thing that John Campy said is true, that I don't think Sony's going to risk that deal. I think mainly what's going to happen is Sony might. This is what I think. This is what I think is going to happen. Sony will still keep the agreement going with Marvel Studios as far as, you know, sharing Spider-Man and letting Spider-Man be part of the MCU. But I think what's going to happen, my honest opinion, is Sony will probably be like, yeah, you know, it was a success. It didn't hit the $1 billion mark like we want, but that's okay. We'll still share Spider-Man with you. However, the next Spider-Man movie, we want more say than you. Because you can't tell me that, yeah, Sony's in charge, Sony distributes and all that. You can't tell me that Marvel Studios doesn't have more say than they do, because they do. So I would not be surprised that Sony still keeps this deal going, but on the third film, they have a little bit more say on how things go. Like, what they want incorporated, who they want incorporated. So, and, you know, there's a report going around that, you know, Disney wants to bring the Osborns into the MCU because they're an integral part of the Spider-Man mythos. But Sony's not going to let that happen. My thought is, again, going back to what I just said, I think that'll be part of the deal. That even if the movie doesn't hit the $1 billion mark, they'll still keep the deal going. But Sony will say, hey, you will probably say, you know, will probably point that out and say, okay, on the next movie, we want a little bit more control over what happens on what gets added in or not added in and stuff. And then maybe they'll even bring up the whole Osborn situation to be like, look, you guys still want the Osborns in the MCU? That's fine. But we have to have some say, not just in Spider-Man, but in some of your other MCU films, even if they're not distributed by Sony. That's what I think. That's what I believe could potentially happen. Like if Disney / Marvel Studios still wants the Osborns as part of the Spider-Man in the MCU timeline, but Sony, let's say, because Far From Home doesn't reach the $1 billion mark, but still keeps the agreement going, says, hey, we want more control now because, it didn't reach the billion mark, so we want a little bit more control. I'm not going to put it past Sony to say, look, we also bring up, I should say, the Osborn situation and say, hey, you still want them, but here's what's going to happen. We get to have a bit more say of what occurs in the third Spider-Man movie, and oh, by the way, we also have a little bit of say of what goes on in some of your MCU movies, whatever ones we choose that we want to have say in, or whatever ones we want to be distributing. That's what I think could happen. Because I could see them pulling something like that just to not only maintain the deal, but to kind of show that, yeah, Disney, you may own Marvel Studios, but when you work with people that own other Marvel properties that you don't entirely have the license for, then you find out you're not as powerful as you say you are. But honestly, again, I'm in agreement with John Campy. I don't think Spider-Man Far From Home is going to go. I don't think, honestly, the Spider-Man franchise is going to go fully back to Sony. I think the agreement, the deal is still going to exist, even if it doesn't reach $1 billion. But I think what will happen is Sony will make some kind of arrangement to where, since Far From Home didn't reach $1 billion, that they get to have a little bit more say in what happens in the next Spider-Man more than Marvel does, as well as maybe they get to have a little bit more say on what happens in other MCU movies, as well as maybe what movies they would like to distribute under the Sony banner. So honestly, again, I don't think Spider-Man Far From Home is... I'll put it this way. I don't think... What I'm trying to say is I don't think Spider-Man, like I said earlier, is going to go... go back fully to Sony. It's still, the agreement's still going to remain, but the things I just said, I wouldn't put it past Sony to probably want to pull some of that to try to show to Disney as a whole, yeah, you may own the Marvel license, but remember, those that still own other certain Marvel licenses outside of you, if you partner with them, still have more control than you. So, but I don't think the deal's going to end. I just think Sony's going to probably decide that since Far From Home didn't reach the $1 billion mark, that they're going to want a little bit more say, and maybe on top of that they might say, look, you still want the Osborns, we have no problem with that, but here's what we want in exchange, and that's either having them saying what happens in the other MCU films, or picking out or choosing what MCU films they can distribute under the Sony license, under the Sony brand. So that's just my take on that. Honestly, again, I don't think the agreement's gonna end, but I think some of the things I just mentioned are gonna come from it. I really do. All right, third topic here is basically something that I've talked about recently, but it just seems so weird. That some people just they just don't understand the concept about about fantasy and stuff like that. Just checking something, okay. But it seems they don't understand it. What I'm getting at is basically the fact that recently myself, along with many other fans, well, some fans anyway, have come out and basically kind of in our own way try to explain why it seems on occasions that Hasbro, well, not mostly Hasbro, but the creative staff currently behind MLP My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, seems to on occasions tease spike in rarity. Excuse me. Why they seem to tease that on occasions. Why do they seem to kind of push well, I wouldn't say push the envelope, but kind of acknowledge that there is something there between the two characters. And the response that a lot of fans that support it, like I do, get, and there is a majority of fans that do support it, probably more than I think anybody could imagine or want to admit to. But it seems that every time we discuss it, or acknowledge it, or reference it in some way, the majority of fans that don't support it, or don't get it, or don't understand it, they come out and they say it's wrong. They say that Spike and Rarity should not be because Spike's a young kid, young teen, and Rarity's an adult. Even though on Twitter, Jim Miller assumed, or in his own way, tried to assume and justify maybe why they keep teasing Spike and Rarity by saying that in pony years he's between 16 and 22. More so maybe in the 20s now than anything, thanks to his meltdown situation. Well, in dragon years he may appear physically like being 10 or 12. But so when you have someone like Jim Miller on the staff try to be like, yeah, I would guess it's between 16 and 22, mostly probably in the which I would assume he's probably looking more like the late teens, early 20s with Spike as age, but physically he may look, from like a dragon perspective, he may look younger. When you have someone like him come out and try to acknowledge that, hey, or justify maybe in his own unique way by assuming and giving the assumption that this character, the reason we do this is because this character is probably between this age and pony years, but may look this age or be this age in dragon years. That to me is saying something. That at least should say something to those that don't want to see it happen. Like this trying to just, because that it basically should say something to those that don't want to see it happen or don't want to see it occur. Because basically what he's trying to do in his own, with his own opinion, his own adding to the situation, is justify why they keep doing it. But yet you still have fans that are like, no, it can't happen. This is why. It's an age difference, or it's pedophilia that you'll be promoting if they do it. But here's what's funny though. Sometimes when people that don't want to see a certain ship, like let's say Spike and Rarity, happen, it seems that, and I say this with all due respect, I say this with all due respect. It seems that when you counter argue that by saying, well, then why would you, if you don't want him to be with Rarity, then why are you shipping him with Starlight Glimmer, or why are you shipping him with Applejack? Why are you doing that? That's just as bad as Rarity. And the way I look at it is, when you question that to those that don't want to see Spike with Rarity, I notice, maybe it's my own opinion, and again I say this with all due respect, maybe when it seems, I'm not trying to say maybe, but what it seems to me is anytime you try to counter argue that by bringing those two ships up, or those two characters that fans want to see him shipped with besides Rarity, they seem to quiet down. And if you're following this as an outsider and you're wondering, okay, they just counter argued the reason Spike and Rarity should be together by saying, well, you guys that don't want that to happen want this to happen, and now all of a sudden that side that doesn't want Spike and Rarity to happen, but wants that either one of those pairings to happen, keeps quiet. I think that's when the truth kind of starts to come out, especially if you've been a fan for a long time. I haven't been a fan for that long. I've been a fan that slowly began becoming a fan around 2004. I would say probably the latest was 2013, late 13 into 14, just a very slow build. But the point is, long time or not, when you notice something like that, you start realizing, it might be more than just, oh, well, it's age, or it's this, or it makes a reference to this. You start, even as an outsider, you start thinking, something's up, because they're not saying much anymore. And then that's when it dawns on you, either as an outsider or as a longtime fan, that there's more to it. That there's something that they're not really wanting to tell you. And anytime I've brought this up in recent videos, it seems that nobody brings it up in a remark or in a reply. And that is the fact that the reason no fans want to see Spike with Rarity is not because of the age difference. It's not because it would reference pedophilia or anything else like that. It's because of the fact that it's because what they see is Rarity manipulating Spike. They see her using Spike to her advantages, she's manipulating him. She's using him to her advantage, taking advantage of how he feels about her to get what she wants. Some people even bring up the fact that, or could argue the fact that when Rarity was given the fire ruby by Spike, that she flirtatiously, in Secret of My Excess in season 2, that she flirtatiously manipulated him into doing so. But a lot of people, even the people behind the scenes at the time, the creative staff at that time, counter-argue and say, no, that wasn't the case. Spike did it out of his own generosity. Because Rarity's expression said it all. Like, she was surprised that he went and did that. Because he could have easily said, no, I'm not going to give this to you. Or he could have easily said, thanks for the compliment, put the fire ruby away for another day, for later on to snack on it. So, that's honestly what I've noticed, and I think a lot of other people have noticed. I mean, because some people even call others out by saying, okay, well, what's so different about Spike being with Applejack and Starlight if you don't want him to be with Rarity? You know what I'm saying? And then some people say, well, Spike should be with Ember. Ember's a dragon lord, and she's a bit older. Yeah, she's a dragon, but she's a bit older. Wouldn't that be indicating the same thing? And then some say, well, what about Smolder? Give him to Smolder. Smolder is a student. He's somewhat part of the teaching staff, the school facility, or facility, if you will. Or he's part of the faculty. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. The faculty staff at the school. So that would be kind of wrong, wouldn't it? So everybody tries to come. So from what I can see, a lot of people that don't want to see Spike and Rarity together try to come up with all these different reasonings to justify why it shouldn't happen, when in reality it just comes down to them. It just comes down to the fact that they don't want to see Spike and Rarity together because they don't like how, in their eyes, Rarity is manipulating Spike. She's using him. She's taking his feelings for her and using them to her advantage, and not returning them because she doesn't have feelings for him. That's how they look at it. And I've even said, I think one time in a video, why don't you just admit the truth? Just admit it. It's not hard to do. Just come out and admit it. Just say, look, okay. I mean, this is, and I say this with all due respect, this is what I would do if I was somebody. I would come out and say, look, okay, here's the real reason, here's the truth. It's not because of age, it's not because of pedophilia, it's not because of this or that, it's because the truth, it's because, I mean, honestly, all they have to do is just come out, if they want to, that's their option, that's their option if they want to, just come out and say, look, it's not because of age, it's not because of pedophilia, it's not because of any of that. It's just because, in my eyes, what I see is Rarity manipulating Spike and not really caring about how he feels about her. And that's it. That's all they have to do. And that's all they have to do. That's all they have to do if they want to come out, if they really want to be truthful. Because all people are hearing at times is excuses or different reasonings. And what's funny is, this has been argued for almost the entire run of the show. And here's the thing. People should know, in fantasy, sometimes, age doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. I mean, let me put it to, let me argue this. If age or size difference played a factor in a relationship, if age and size differential played a factor in a relationship, then why did Disney push Fix-It Felix with Sergeant Calhoun? Why did they do that? Could they have easily said, oh, well, it's, why did they do it, huh? Calhoun's a small, I mean not Calhoun, but Felix is a small dude. He could be passed off as a child if the people wanted to go that route, right? That kind of sends off the wrong messages, right? No, it doesn't. Size does not matter. And I know that sounded kind of weird, me bringing that up, but but you get what I'm saying, right? It doesn't matter either way how you look at it. You know, it's a fantasy world. There's a lot of shows and franchises that are based in fantasy that have romances teased and eventually officially shipped and made official, I should say, down the line that, you know, not a lot of people will agree with. You know, like I said before, I am a Sonic the Hedgehog fan. And the fact of the matter is no matter how many times these characters broke up in the comics or didn't really have any interaction that much, or romantic interaction in the animated series, it was still teased and implied that these two were going to get together. And guess what? They did officially get together at the end of the series. They made it official. The teasing, the flirtation, and all that, it came to a head and it became official. Just toss my thing over there. But like I said, it became official. You know, and in the comics, they broke up and came back together several times, and there were several teases about it happening. And guess what? Just like now, there was various fans that were for Sonic and Sally being together, and there were fans that weren't. And fans would come up with various reasons and excuses as to why it wouldn't work or why it shouldn't happen. And one of the other things they would come up with for Sonic and Sally not being together, because they wanted Sonic to be with Amy. Because why? Because Amy and Sonic are hedgehogs. Both are hedgehogs. Which is the same reason people bring up, oh, Spike should be with Ember, or Spike should be with Smolder, because they're dragons. And it's like, what's the point? It's fantasy. And in any kind of franchise, you have the right to ship and support whatever couple you feel works. Whether or not in the end it happens or it doesn't, you have the right to do that. And you have the right to express how you feel. That's why when I go on the Facebook group pages, or I go on Twitter and share my videos or my thoughts and all that, or I go on the forums and type up my thoughts, or on DeviantArt and type up my thoughts, it's because I'm sharing my support. Not everybody has to agree with it, but here's the thing. In the end. If you will. The fact of the matter is, when the Sonic and Amy thing first started, fans wanted Sonic to be with Amy. Fans that were against that would say the same thing about Rarity and Spike. It's the age difference, pedophilia, stuff like that. They would bring up all those excuses. Even after Amy got her redesign, they would bring that up. They would bring that up without question. But after some confirmation from people that were behind the scenes, either on the Sonic comic was under the Archie license, or even the people that worked on the games or worked on Sonic Boom, Sonic X, you name it. When confirmation came out that Amy is the right age to be with Sonic, and there's nothing wrong with these two being together, depending on what kind of media, those that didn't want it, guess what? They kept quiet. They shut up, if you will, and I say that with due respect. They kept quiet and they shut up. Because they're like, okay, fine, whatever. At least you gave us a reason. The point is, someone like Jim Miller is at least trying to give reasoning as to why they keep teasing it, or why they keep hinting at Spike and Rarity. And again, it's all about fantasy. It's a fantasy world, okay? I mean, if romance was what's the word I'm looking for? Such a sacred situation as far as My Little Pony goes, then why isn't anybody saying anything about Sunset Shimmer getting together with Flash Century and Equestria Girls? Well, what? Because they're both human or pony human versions of the pony selves. Red reality check, if you will, or fantasy reality check, if you will. Sunset is an actual pony trapped in a human's body, or at least disguised in a human's body. Get what I'm saying? She is a pony that is disguised as a human teenager. So shouldn't that be wrong? That a pony ends up with a human? No, I heard nobody say anything about Twilight when she crossed over and she started crushing on human Flash and vice versa. Nobody said anything about that. I'm just saying, folks. I'm just saying. The fact of the matter is this. People have the right to support and ship what they want. There's nothing wrong with that. And when you have people that work behind the scenes coming out in their own way, try to confirm why they're doing it, then that should be the end of it. But if one of the other real reasons is because, but if the real reason is because you don't like how one character you feel is treating the other in your own eyes, then you shouldn't have to come up with different excuses or reasoning. Especially if it comes to, they should be with their own species kind of deal, because that's, as crazy as that sounds, kind of borderline, from a fictional standpoint, racist. It's like, Spike shouldn't be with Rarity, he should be with Boulder or Ember because they're dragons just like he is. One, that's almost, from a fantasy perspective, borderline speciest/racist. And secondly, like I said earlier, Ember's older than Spike. Smolder's a student. Get what I'm saying? Fact of the matter is, everybody knows eventually, one way or another, Spike and Rarity will probably become official somehow, some way. Don't know how, don't know when. It's probably already been done because episodes are coming out early in China, or in places like China. But we don't know if one of those episodes is going to center on it, going to acknowledge it as probably part of the subplot, or it's going to get revealed at the end when the book closes and we see the pony that's reading the book to this new younger generation is Twilight, and part of that younger generation is a pony-like Kirin creature that, looks like she's part dragon and part unicorn. Who knows? The thing is, it's just amazing the excuses people bring up when it comes to certain ships they don't want to see. They come up with reasoning, some out there reasonings or excuses that just don't make sense. All they have to do, and again, it's their opinion, it's their option. They don't have to do what I tell them. But all they have to do, if they feel like it, is just come out and say, look, here's the truth. The truth is, I don't like Spike and Rarity because in my eyes, Rarity's manipulating Spike. That's all they have to say. But that's all I'm going to say on this topic, guys. Next topic's coming up in just a bit. Well, next topic here is fourth topic, I think it is. Yeah, it is the fourth topic, but I think it's the fourth topic. I don't really know, but anyway, next topic here. Let's talk about what's been announced in the past 24 hours. Basically, it's the fourth topic, but anyway, what was announced in the past 24 hours is something that was talked about for a while, and no one was really sure what was going to happen as far as a lot of the affiliates under the WarnerMedia roof or household was concerned. But that was all kind of, I guess, for right now, put to rest when it was announced that WarnerMedia will be launching HBO Max. HBO Max is the new streaming service that they will be launching in spring of next year, that being 2020. And already reports are coming out of the acquisition or the reacquisition of distributing the series Friends, distributing The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, getting some shows from Crunchyroll, shows from Cartoon Network, you name it. As well as, of course, original content like original shows made for the service, original movies, as well as established films and stuff as well. HBO Max, the name obviously came about because the proposed name at the time was going to be WarnerMedia. But they decided to go with probably the more, I guess you could say, attractive name, which is HBO Max, which is combining both names of the Warner Brothers cable companies, the Time Warner AT&T cable companies, that being Home Box Office, which is HBO, and Cinemax, which is Max. Thus you have HBO Max. We don't know what the price range is of it yet, but it's kind of funny that it's going to be coming out essentially around, I would say, let's see, November, December, January, February, almost about 5 to 6 months after. We don't have a definitive date in the spring as to when it's going to happen. We can assume, though, between 5 to 6, maybe 7 months after, but mostly around 6 months at the latest. But we don't have a definitive price range on it. It is, of course, a streaming app, so it's going to be available on all kinds of platforms. We can assume that HBO, since HBO has we can assume that since HBO Go is on PlayStation 4, Xbox, as well as on services like I said this and Root Go devices, that we could assume HBO Go will probably be converted into HBO Max, or HBO Go will follow the same suit as DC Universe, and I'm assuming Boomerang and the Cartoon Network app as well. But basically the report is this is a new service. It's going to bring a lot of stuff that you see elsewhere together under one roof, but all the other services like DC, Boomerang, Crunchyroll, and several others will still be their own thing. Like, nothing will really change about them. Is that there will be certain shows, though, that you'll be able to see on HBO Max, along with the other variety of programming as well. So for, let's say, Crunchyroll, what do they got access to? Crunchyroll, let's say they have access to Naruto. Let's say they have access to Naruto. Crunchyroll, you would not just be able to watch Naruto on Crunchyroll, but you'd also be able to watch it on HBO Max. And for example, let's say you want to watch 2 episodes back to back of Naruto, then all of a sudden you feel like, okay, now I want to watch something else. You have a whole variety, possibly, of other programming you could watch, like Friends, Fresh Prince. We don't even know what animation besides the animes that they're going to have access to will be part of it. We could assume that since Animaniacs is on Hulu and it's going to remain on Hulu, we could assume that Animaniacs will also be part of HBO Max. Oh, what's that? But like I said, we can assume that. I just thought I heard something. But like I said, we could assume that Animaniacs would not just be be part of Hulu, but they might be part of HBO Max as well. So you have a chance to watch them both on different platforms. The same can go with Tiny Toons Adventures. Basically, a lot of what you see, I'm assuming that as time goes on and as this streaming service comes into its own, that we can predict, if not assume, that a lot of the programming you're seeing on places like Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, you name it, we could assume that they will slowly integrate over to HBO Max. If not, some kind of deal will be made to where not only would you still be able to watch them on those other services, but you'll also be able to watch them on HBO Max along with programming you don't get with those services. One can assume that. But right now, the most notable things that they got going, or they've mentioned out of this, is Friends going over to there, Friends leaving Netflix probably by early next year and going over to HBO Max, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air going to HBO Max, because I think Fresh Prince is on Hulu, I think, so it's going to go over to HBO Max. Either be seen on both programming, I'm guessing. And then, like I said, you got the other stuff that I mentioned, like Animaniacs probably being on HBO Max along with being on Hulu. Same with Tiny Toons, you name it. So it's going to be quite interesting. I'll say that. And it's kind of funny when you think about it that this was announced by Warner Brothers just a few months, not even that, after Disney made the official formal announcement of the Disney Plus service that they had been working on, they've been putting together for the past year or two. It's kind of funny that all of a sudden Warner Brothers, WarnerMedia, AT&T, Time Warner if you will, decided to bring out this new service as well. And what that tells me is there's still a bit of that rivalry, major league rivalry between the two major league brands of entertainment, that being Warner Brothers and the Walt Disney Company, and that they're seeing what Disney's going to bring to the table and all that, and as far as original content is concerned and established content they have from the various library they have of shows and movies and the vast hours that can be contributed to Disney Plus or will be contributed to Disney Plus in the future. So one can assume that Warner Brothers saw this, AT&T saw this, Time Warner saw this and said, nope, we're not letting Disney outdo us. We're going to show Disney we could do the same thing, and we could probably try to do it better. And that's why I think all of a sudden, because we had heard, maybe there was news bouncing around ever since Disney made their announcement about their streaming service coming in the future, and then finally being formally announced about a month or two ago. So one could assume that people at Warner Brothers may have been, at WarnerMedia I should say, may have been thinking about this for a while, but never really put too much stock into it until Disney announced what Disney Plus was going to be offering. So I think honestly WarnerMedia probably thought about this, but like I said, didn't put too much stock into it until Disney revealed what they were going to do with Disney Plus, and they just decided, you know what, we're not going to let them top us, we're going to do better. We can show them we can be just as good, we can offer just as much, if not more. So there you go. But this is really an interesting time but to me it's I wouldn't say an interesting time just yet, but I'd say it's a very interesting coincidence that this has been announced not even a few months after Disney made the announcement of Disney Plus. I mean, even Disney waited until at least a formal announcement as to what they were going to be offering and stuff like that before they gave us an official name and title for the service. WarnerMedia just decided, okay, we could stick with WarnerMedia or we could just go HBO Max. And they decided, hey, we're going to give you a title of what the service is going to be and kind of give you an idea of what shows are going to be on there, but we're not going to tell you everything just yet. We're not going to show you what the layout, platform, menu layout's going to look like or anything. So I think honestly this was a knee-jerk reaction to what Disney's doing with Disney Plus, and Warner's is like, nope, we're not gonna let you outdo us. We're gonna show you we can do just as good, if not better. So, is it a good thing? Honestly, do I think Warner HBO Max, I should say, do I think it's a good thing for for the future of entertainment? Yeah, I really do, because I think honestly there's a lot of multimedia companies out there that have a lot of movies and shows under their roof, under their under their control. They have the licensing too, that they have yet to find a proper home to showcase them on. And you're seeing services like Tubin TV, Boomerang through Cartoon Network, which is part of WarnerMedia. You get Tubin, you get Amazon, you get all these streaming services that are getting getting access to a lot of these, are getting access and getting the rights and the licenses to all these properties of the past 50, 60 years, if you will, maybe even 70 years, if you will, but mostly 50, 60 years, and are giving them a home, whether it's a small independent streaming service, or it's a subsidiary streaming service of, like, let's say MGM. At least they're getting the opportunity to shine. And that's why I think, honestly, and that's why I said, and that's why I think that, honestly, this is a good thing. This is a good thing for HBO, and mostly for Warner Brother Media, Warner Media, I should say, because like I said, they have, just like Disney, they have a vast library of content. Not just their own homegrown stuff from the Looney Tunes and all that, but they have that Hanna-Barbera library now. They have mounts, and they have like I said, they have that Hanna-Barbera library, which they've dumped onto the Boomerang app, and they're still slowly dumping it on there, because there's still some stuff on there, or there's still some stuff from Hanna-Barbera that they still need to, release onto Boomerang, or distribute onto the Boomerang app. So they have that vast library. They have a vast library of a lot of the classic Warner Brother cartoons. They have a lot of these things, and not just the cartoons, but they have the series, the primetime crime drama series, comedies, movies. They have a lot of stuff, and again, just like Disney, they now have possibly a foundational platform to, give home to a lot of these movies and shows that they have in their possession, but they have yet to really say, okay, we need to put these shows somewhere, but where, kind of situation. So it's good that HBO. So to me, it's a good thing HBO Max is here. The one thing that I think is going to hinder on its success is how much the subscription service is going to be. Because we know that it's $6.99 for Disney Plus a month, or $65 a year. So, which isn't a bad deal either way. So you gotta imagine that Warner Brothers might try to match that price. Maybe try to go up by $1, or maybe go down by $1. Either way, so we'll have to wait and see. But honestly, I think HBO Max could be a good thing. We just have to wait and see what else they got planned, and what other shows they're going to bring it on board, and how it's going to affect the other streaming services that have access and licensing to these shows. So, but that's all I can say on this one. So, next topic coming up. Okay, last topic we're going to talk about here is, of course, Comic-Con. Yes, Comic-Con, I think, is coming up, I believe, this week. This upcoming week. Let me double check here. When is San Diego Comic-Con?
2019 Comic-Con International, San Diego will begin on Thursday, July 18, 2019, and ends on Sunday, July 21st.
Okay, so basically a week from today it will start, and the predictions are already out there as to what we will get. We know that certain studios are going to be there. We know that Disney through Marvel is going to be there. We know that Warner Brothers is going to be there. We know Hasbro is going to be there. We know anybody that has a foothold in entertainment, comic books, movies, you name it, is going to be there. But the question is, what will be revealed? Well, I do know that with Hasbro, they're going to have various panels for their shows and the franchises. One of them, of course, being My Little Pony. Now, despite the early releases / leaks, courtesy of China, that we've been getting, we do know, obviously, or we should expect, that they will have a trailer for the second half of the final season / season 9, and give us an idea of what we are going to expect to see in the coming months. By then, we may already know what we're going to get, like I said, thanks to the releases from China. But hopefully that might be taken care of by then, who knows. But anyway, we know we're going to get something like that. We know we're probably going to get a trailer for the next holiday special that they supposedly have planned for the end of the year. We know that they have something in mind for Equestria Girls, so we know we're going to get some information down the line, not just for the show, but I got a feeling we're also going to get some information as far as the IDW comic goes, and how that's going to tie into the finality as well. I got a feeling they're going to have to address that. If not, they will address that at San Diego Comic-Con next weekend. And however they address it, it's going to be quite interesting. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to be off that upcoming week, well, except for Monday when I have to work, but I'll be off the rest of the week, so I'll hopefully be able to kind of pay attention, keep an ear out, an eye out to see exactly what San Diego Comic-Con and what news and information we're going to get. And maybe without interruption, perhaps I can come on here real quickly, maybe through this, or even the computer, and kind of give you my thoughts on what we've just found out. So again, we do know that if you're an MLP FIM fan, as well as a fan of the Equestria Girls, we are going to get a montage trailer for the second and final half of the final / season 9 of MLP. We do know we'll probably get a trailer, a WIP, work in progress trailer, for whatever Christmas special, holiday special they got upcoming this year, if they do. As well as we'll probably get some kind of a trailer for an upcoming Equestria Girls special, maybe one that ties into the finality of into the final season, the finality of Friendship is Magic. And there's no doubt we'll probably get some information on the IDW comic as well. Again, the other studios, other big players or semi-big players expected there. We know Disney's going to be represented by Marvel. We know that D23 is upcoming in a few weeks later, about a month later or so. So I don't think they're going to spill the beans on a lot of stuff here. But whatever they do spill the beans on, I can definitely expect a lot of people giving some reactions and stuff. I've got a feeling that, again, they're not going to spill the beans too much here at San Diego Comic-Con, but what they do show is going to get people talking. I think they may give us more information. This is what I see happening. I see the people representing Disney / Marvel Studios coming out and kind of give us an idea of what giving us more of an idea of the Marvel shows that are they're going to be appearing on Disney Plus. We'll get more information about that, and we'll probably get a sneak peek at a teaser, maybe not a teaser trailer, but a teaser of the name of the next MCU film that's in the works and that's going to be released in theaters, which a lot of people are assuming is going to be Black Widow. So we can expect that. We can expect that DC and Warner Brothers is going to be playing a big part here. We can expect them, probably Warner Brothers, showing us a bit of a teaser trailer for Wonder Woman 1984. We can expect that to happen. We can expect maybe we can probably expect a trailer for the Joker, that trailer, and probably get more information as to how it resides within the DC multi-universe, because apparently, according to reports, the Joker movie is not going to be relying on the comics. It's going to be like its own thing. So maybe, I guess, business-wise, from a business strategy-wise, it could have a good chance at probably getting award nominations, through Golden Globes and Academy in the future. Have to wait and see, but yeah, we'll probably get, well, most likely, if not probably, get more information on where the Joker movie lies within the whole DC multiverse equation, as well as find out more as to, why it's not going to have any, why it's not going to depend heavily on the comics or whatever. And we'll probably get a new trailer as well to go along with it. Other things as well, I'm pretty sure we'll learn more about HBO Max here at San Diego Comic-Con. Probably find out what other shows and programs are heading its way. So that's something to expect from Warner Brothers. We'll probably, speaking of movies, we'll probably get another trailer for It Chapter 2, the next chapter. We'll probably get a trailer for the sequel to It. We'll probably get a trailer for that. What else? We'll probably get a trailer for another, well, I'm not sure if they'll save it for D23, but we'll probably get more information on Frozen 2. So we can expect that. What else? I don't really know how much more we can get. I think we might get more information on because D23 is going to have a lot, but I think San Diego Comic-Con for Disney is probably going to be showcasing just a taste of what we'll get at D23. But we'll probably get information on the DuckTales reboot and, what the second half of the new season's going to bring to the table later this year. Probably get more information about the next season of Tangled, the next chapter in that scenario, and what probably could be the reasoning as to Cassandra's betrayal and stuff. So we'll probably get a lot more. We'll probably get trailers for those, a little bit more information on that stuff. We might get information, who knows, maybe on some new Disney series that are coming, not just the Disney Channel, but the Disney Plus as well. Like, we know there's a Chip and Dale series in the works, mostly shorts, but maybe we'll get information on a Rescue Rangers reboot. And speaking of Rescue Rangers, maybe we'll get more information on that, because the one thing about San Diego Comic-Con is you never know what you're going to see there. You never know what trailers they're going to hit you with as far as upcoming future movies are concerned, and who's to say Rescue Rangers won't be one of them. So there's that as well. So just a whole bunch of stuff. We might, like I said, might get more information on some new Disney reboots of Disney Afternoon series. Maybe some we'll expect, and some we're expecting, and maybe some we won't expect, which would be a surprise. I think San Diego Comic-Con is also where we're going to find out an update on the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Originally, of course, it was supposed to come out Thanksgiving this year, but it's been pushed to February of next year because they want to make sure that they redesign Sonic the way he's supposed to be because of the fans' outcry and backlash, which I still kind of feel they expected, and they just wanted to hold off on it. Hold off making the announcement. Some could say, oh, it was genuine and everything was organic. And people have a right to the opinion on that, but honestly, I think they had it planned out. I really do. I just don't think. Honestly, I just don't think they. How do I put this? I just don't think they just came up with that announcement of, oh, we're going to do the redesign on the fly. I don't think so. I think they just wanted to get the trailer out because they had a scheduled deadline to get it out with, and they probably had that statement prepared. That's what I think. So we'll probably get an information, maybe a look at what Sonic is looking like now, and maybe we'll get a new trailer with the new design. Who knows? As far as who to expect, celebrity-wise, I don't know who I can't say who will show up, honestly. I mean, I know that Netflix is probably going to be at San Diego Comic-Con to promote the collaboration with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. So I would expect maybe a surprise appearance by him and Ryan Reynolds. Maybe. We'll probably get more information on Riverdale, on Stranger Things, maybe on a new season being announced. Who knows? But those are just some of the things I think could possibly happen. Again, celebrity-wise, those are just two of the names I think can show up. I think we'll get information on Batwoman, more information on that. I'll probably see if maybe, like I said, we'll probably get more information on Batwoman and how they're going to work with that, and especially with the fact that Batwoman is supposed to be a lesbian. So we'll see how they incorporate that into the show. And maybe we'll find out more information of DC characters that might cross over with her, besides the ones people would expect, like The Flash, Supergirl, Arrow. I think Batwoman, honestly, is going to lend itself to mostly Batman-related characters to be associated with. Like, I could see Supergirl coming in, to collaborate, to cross over both those series again, make another crossover, along with The Flash. But honestly, I think Batwoman's going to open up the door for Cassandra Cain to show up, for Huntress to show up, I think. Spoiler. So I can expect those characters to show up as well, maybe even Nightwing. So maybe they might do a crossover with Titans and Batwoman as well. So that, and by doing something like that, maybe that'll give exposure to people to go to DC Universe and watch Titans. Who knows? But those are just my thoughts on what I think they might do with that. Overall, we're probably going to get more information on the next major Marvel Comics event. And that's one reason I think Marvel's also going to be there, is they want to promote Absolute Carnage. And Absolute Carnage, to me, Carnage's new look, I'll put it this way, holy crap. It basically looks like when Cassidy bonds with the Carnage symbiote here, he basically becomes like half skeleton almost. It's like it just eats away at his flesh and he's just all skeleton, mostly skeleton at times. So it'd be really interesting. What more information we'll find out about that. I know they'll probably talk about the Batman series or Batman event that's going on. I think it's called Last Laugh. So yeah, those are just predictions of what I think honestly is going to come out of Comic-Con. Those overall, I should say, that's just my predictions on everything that I think we can expect at Comic-Con to be announced, be teased, given more information on, stuff like that. So yeah, and maybe we'll get more information on these new Hasbro movies coming out in 2020 and 2021. More information on the G.I. Joe, and I think, what was it, Micronauts for next year, as well as getting information on the new My Little Pony movie, possibly leading into Generation 5, as well as the Dungeons and Dragons films they got planned. So maybe we'll get more information on that, because especially the G.I. Joe and Micronauts one, because we're getting close to 2020. So who knows? And maybe we'll also get more information on the 2021 movies of Dungeons and Dragons and My Little Pony, which is predicted to lead into Gen 5, or be part of Gen 5. So that's all I can say, guys. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on San Diego Comic-Con, and this being the last topic. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Topics on My Mind video. Not live streaming as per se like I usually would do, but just thought I'd come on here, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And I will talk to you all later. You all have a good Thursday, and I am out. Thank you for watching.